Welcome back, Leveling Up Nation. This is your host and success strategist, Brigham Blackham. And boy, do we have an amazing episode for you today.
So I learned, don't give your ideas to just anybody, but the best place to give your ideas, Brigham, is to your
Not every
wife.
single day do we know what God has for us, but if we are intentional with our plans and we say, hey, Heavenly Father, this is what I want to do today, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be obedient to those opportunities. God will align opportunity with back, Leveling Up Nation. This is your host and success strategist, Brigham Blackham. And boy, do we have an amazing episode for you today. I've got my good friend, Ron Williams. He's an apostle. He is a 7-time Mr. Natural Olympia, and he's got just a laundry list of accolades when it comes to natural bodybuilding. But one of the things you may not know about him is not only is he a man of faith, but he is an amazing, well-rounded speaker that knows the ins and outs of the speaking industry. Amazing opportunity today to have him on the podcast. We're going to be talking about champion building, not just talking about how to be a champion yourself, but building champions. We're going to talk about integrity. We're going to talk about obedience, talk about purpose, success, all of these different elements. So you're going to want to stick all the way to the end of this. And he's got a special giveaway at the end as well. So do not want to miss it. I'm going to welcome him onto the call. Ron, oh my goodness, so grateful to
Hey,
have you
man.
back. Welcome back, man, to Leveling Up.
Man, it is awesome to be back with you, man. One thing I wanted to tell you, I love your name, man.
Oh, thank you.
Brigham Blackham. That is a stage name. You
I
were
know
born
it.
with a stage name, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, for giving me that one. Well, let's dive straight in here. We're
Okay.
talking about champion building. You are not only a champion in the natural bodybuilding space, but you've been able to be a champion in business, as a speaker, as a husband, in so many facets of your life, and you've been able to really build other champions. Let's talk about not just the mindset around that, but what is the story that you can share that other people that want to build other leaders can say, oh, I can follow Ron's example here because he has done it before.
Well, one thing is, I like to clarify the fact that there's one thing to win a championship,
Mhm.
and there's a difference between a champion and a championship.
Mhm.
I became a championship winning junkie. When I found out that I could win, I gave myself permission to win. And, I've won over 250 titles, 21 world championships, 7-time Mr. Universe, 7-time Mr. World, 7-time Mr. Olympia, inducted into the Natural Bodybuilders Hall of Fame. But with that being said, there was an emptiness left. After doing all of that, I'm still empty inside. And what I realized is it wasn't the championship I wanted, it was becoming a champion. See, championships are what you do, but a champion is who you are. Championships can be won or lost, but a champion can't be. It's who you are. And once you win a championship, the next year somebody else can come along and take it. But once you become a champion, nobody can take that from
I
you.
love that. That's a beautiful mindset because whether you get the title or not, you can be that champion. You can be the champion in your rehearsals. You can be the champion of how you help other people. And after you have that championship, yeah, that's one thing that you can say, hey, here's the accolade, here's the title. But being the champion day in, day out, I've seen lots of people that they on paper they are that champion, but they fall below the standard of I am being a champion. Not always do we
Absolutely.
have those standards and we stay on the foundational principles that keep us living that champion life. And I think that's something that you do so well as you talk about championship fundamentals and champion fundamentals and building really great righteous routines and daily disciplines. So let's talk about what are the champion fundamentals, like how to be that champion.
Okay. One is it requires certain principles to win championships. But if you apply those same principles, they actually transfer over into faith, family, fitness, and finances. If you find a person who's really good at finances, Or say, no, let's use another example. You find a person that's great in a sport that he plays. He becomes this great champion, but yet he's not a good father and a good husband. So he didn't apply those same principles that he took to become that athletic champion into his marriage, into rearing his children, because they took second place. And maybe he just didn't cognitively think along those lines, but it requires the discipline, it requires focus, it requires passion, it requires a deep desire to become that champion in that area, and implementing those same principles, because if you don't, you'll fall short. And many times we're passionate in one area and not so passionate in the other. What has kept me focused in being passionate in all of the areas? I don't know if you knew this, but you can have one good idea, and that one good idea is at the forefront of your mind, and you can focus on that one thing. David said, this one thing I do, this one thing. The Apostle Paul said, I press toward the mark of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Putting those other things behind me, I press toward the mark of this one thing, this one thing. So, what I've done, instead of focusing on faith and then family, then fitness, then finances, I focus on one thing, one thing. And that one thing is God. It's impossible to please him without faith. He said, if I don't take care of my family, I'm worse than an infidel. He said, my body is the temple of the living God. So all three of those are one thing. It's pleasing God. So with faith, family, fitness, and finances, they all work together as one. So I focus on pleasing him, and I cover all those areas, and I got his help and support to do it.
That's beautiful. In the infinity model, we talk about how that's your personal life. It bleeds into your professional life. Your professional life comes into your vitality, your health, how you recharge, and how that impacts your community. And they're all interconnected. What you're saying is exactly in line with what we always are talking about. If you are in misalignment in different parts of your life, you will not perform as well in other elements. But when you say, I'm going to please God, I'm going to focus on how I can be my very best version of myself. I can live in integrity. I can be of value, sharing all these different things. It makes all of those choices a lot simpler. So like, is this going to help me glorify God or not? Am I going to do my very best or not? Yeah.
One thing I wanted to
Yeah, go
say
ahead.
with that too, I
Yeah,
didn't
go ahead.
finish this what I was starting, and that is, you have one idea, you can give 100% to that idea. You have two, you fragment it, you can give 50%. You have three, 33.3%. You have four, what happens is that first idea drops off and becomes a past good idea, and you have these three thoughts that you're thinking about. But what happens with that, Brigham, what happened to me years ago is I had this great idea, and God gave me this idea, and I was supposed to take that idea and patent it, that idea. Well, a couple years later, I say about myself, because I was young then, I said, somebody else has got to have a patent on this. I mean, it's just common sense. Anybody could do this. So I wait 2 years later, and I find that idea on TV. Somebody else had finally patented my idea. Well, God gave it to me first, but it wasn't my idea, it was his idea. And because I didn't expound on it, then somebody else came along and God gave it to them. That's to say that when you have something, you got to believe in yourself enough and believe in God enough, and then push forward to fulfill it. Otherwise, you'll miss the boat. Now it happened again. The Lord said to me, he said, if you create this piece of equipment, you'll win the world championships. Well, I saw the piece of equipment in my mind. I drew it out, and I was sitting in, it was a Blimpies at the time. Um, uh, Blimpies used to sponsor me, And one of the things they did is they gave me all of the turkey, all of the food that I wanted from Blimpies. That was one of the things that they gave me. But as I was sitting there, a guy walked in, and we struck up a conversation. And he was a graphic artist, and he drew the piece of equipment I wanted. And I took it to a friend of mine who created the piece of equipment, made it for me, and he patented my piece of equipment, gave me royalties for a year. Nevertheless, I took that piece of equipment, used it, won the world championships, but he took my piece of equipment. So I learned, don't give your ideas to just anybody, but the best place to give your ideas, Brigham, is to your wife.
Mm.
Man, listen, now this is powerful. Why give your idea to your wife? Well, your wife is an incubator by nature. Wow. So if you give her um, if you give her a bag of groceries, she'll take that bag of groceries, put them in the refrigerator, put them in the cabinet, and she'll make you a meal. She takes it, she incubates it, and makes it bigger. You give her a house. If I had a house all by myself, it wouldn't have pictures on the wall, wouldn't have flowers, it would just be dry.
Yeah.
But you give her a
Right.
house, she'll make it a home.
Mm.
Then you give her a seed, she'll give you a baby. She incubates it and gives it back. You give her a hard time, she'll incubate it, and you wonder, where is this coming from? Well, sometimes we as men, we need to look in the mirror, and instead of looking at our wives and say, what did I give her for her to give that back to me?
Mm. That's a great take. I love that. Well, one of the things I'm hearing here is every single choice that we make, it's almost like that seed. You can plant that and it will come back to us. It's like those natural laws. I mean, you're a natural bodybuilder. There are certain laws that when you are obedient to those laws, you will get certain results. It's just that's the way it is. When you look at your journey as a speaker, what are some of those natural laws that you've been able to follow to build that career and to be able to make the positive impact that you're looking to make in the world?
Well, that's a real good question. It's a serious question, and that question makes a difference, I think, in speakers' lives, and it makes a difference in the people that you're speaking to.
Hmm.
One of the things that I have learned to do and have started from the very beginning is being transparent,
Hmm.
being very, very transparent with my life, because you never help people when you tell them about being on the top.
Yeah.
What really helps people is telling them the struggles that you went through to get there.
Love that.
Telling them about the journey. The journey is really important. And my life has had tremendous amounts of struggles, and it helps me to identify with the people because there's life sometimes is messy, really, really messy. Brigham, I don't know if you know this, but I have a son. Uh, I had a son that got shot in the head, and he's no longer here. And a father should never have to bury a son. But when I tell the story about my son and how he died, um, people attach to me and they want to hear more of what I have to say. When I tell them the struggles of my upbringing, of how many schools I went to, how I was touched as a child, the way a child should never be touched, how I was bounced from house to house and I was unwanted. They attach to me and they say, tell me more. And they know the passion that's behind that, why I became
Mm.
what I became.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. One of the things I've heard from you on multiple occasions is taking those painful moments and turning them to fuel. You want to touch on that for just a second? Because I think that's a really powerful idea. Is it's not just the circumstances, not just the pain. We don't just go and air our dirty laundry for people. It's a transformative process, and you use these pain points to fuel progress and transformation. Can you talk about that?
Awesome, awesome. Well, the thing with that is, as a child, I suffered from PTSD from the things that I went through as a child.
Hmm.
If you look at the ACEs score, there are not very many people that I know that that actually rated a 10. I was a 10 on the ACEs score. So what I did is, instead of PTSD, I turned that into PTST, which is I took the PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and I turned it into PTST, which is transformation, post-traumatic transformation. But before I got to transformation, I went to PTSG, which is post-traumatic growth. I took the pain and I used it as a platform to launch me forward. And I said, because this happened to me, it's not going to define who I am. But I took that pain and I used the pain. Every time I used that pain was passion, and that pain fueled me to not become what my past had determined what I would become and the outcome of my life. But the pain was still there. But this is what happened. When I met God, there was a transformation that took place, and those soul wounds that I had turned into soul scars. Now, the scar is different than a wound. A wound still offers pain, but a scar is only the remembrance of the pain. But with the scar also comes experience and wisdom that you can transfer to other people.
That's beautiful. Anytime you have that type of mentality, I've got a scar that I need to warn other people about, or I can be an example for other people. It takes that pressure off of the story and says, how do I transfer this experience to somebody else? That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. One of the things I love about you is it's not just talking about fitness, because there's so many influencers online that talk about fitness. You have a very holistic approach to personal and professional development, to helping people become a good human being, not just a good human doing things. One of the things because I've gone through your program before, you don't just talk about the functionality of fitness, which a lot of coaches do. You talk about the why behind it, how you fuel your movements, how you focus on structure. Can you talk about how purpose and the reason you do certain things in your health, in your vitality, all the things that you're eating, why that purpose fuels your progress so much?
Okay, number one is when people are trying to build their physical bodies, and they have this thought process in their head. I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to pump the weights and I'm going to do this and my body's going to turn into this, that, and the other. But your body never does anything until your mind gives it permission to. Your mind has to give permission. You'll never find yourself in another woman's house until your mind agrees with it. You'll never find yourself in the tavern or drinking alcohol or smoking dope or doing whatever unless your mind first consents to it. The body is like a robot. And so the mind, whoever controls the mind controls the life. You can change a lot of things. You can change your shoes, you can change your coat, your house, your car, and there's no significant difference. But if you change a person's mind, you'll change their life. You'll change their life. And so my whole thing is to get inside the mind of the person, find out why they do what they do, and change their thought process. But understanding the mind is not as simple as it may think, because we have the conscious mind, and then the conscious mind is only 12 to 20% of the entire mind. Now, we have another mind. It's almost like a boat. You have a boat that's on top of the water, and then you have a boat that's under the water. The boat that's under the water is a sub-boat or submarine. So you have the conscious mind, and then you have the sub-mind, which is the subconscious mind. Your thought processes and your belief system lies in the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind, you can think one way, but your belief system in the subconscious mind could be completely different.
Yeah.
Real quick example. You could say, You could say in your mind, I need money. I need money to pay my bills. I need money to do this, that, or the other. But in your subconscious mind, you've been taught money is the root of all evil. So you've got you've got a sabotage tendency inside that will sabotage all of your efforts to make any amount of money. Until you deal with your belief system, your conscious mind will lose out. It's only 20%. So what I need to do, the way you change a thought or a conscious belief system, is to have a bigger, better, stronger, more powerful thought to replace it with. So I go in and I say, well, money's evil. I've been taught this my whole life. Well, no, I need to go back and say, why is money evil? Well, money's not evil. It's the love of money, which is the root of all evil. Money's not evil. You can help a lot of people with a lot of money,
Yeah.
but it's your motive. What are you putting first in your life? So I changed that belief system. Now it agrees with my thought process in my head. And now I'm free to make money.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. All of those internal beliefs, we have to learn how to program them. And one of my favorite things when we're talking about stories is there are stories that we tell each other, which have to do with that upwelling of our subconscious beliefs. We can say, is this a story that is serving me? Is this a belief that is currently serving me? Or is it no longer serving me? Often we have these thoughts that are dragging us down, like what you said with money. Money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is a root of all evil. And if you notice, it's a root of evil. That doesn't mean that you have to nurture the evil. You can actually do a lot of good with money. And it's all in that belief system. And part of this is making sure that we focus on what are the outcomes that we want? What is that success quotient? What is the thing that we want out of life? Because if we nurture those beliefs and we build into that type of success, we will be able to surround ourselves with the right people, the right community, and our professional life, our personal life, our vitality will start to get in alignment because our beliefs and our integrity are in alignment. When they're out of alignment, man, it's so difficult to make progress. It's like you have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, and you're even pulling that emergency brake. You're just jarring along, not getting a whole lot of things accomplished. Got a lot of activity, but not a lot of accomplishment. So let's talk about
Brigham,
success.
you talk like God, man. You talk like God. Because one of the things that God says is he knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end.
Yeah.
God is real similar to an architect or an engineer because he finishes before he starts.
Yeah.
He knows the end before he ever gets started. So he has a plan for our life. So our lives really are finished. All we have to do is find out what God's plan is and follow the instructions, and we have an expected end. So when you just said that, it's really important. What I do is I say, how you said it a moment ago, what do I want my outcome to be? What do I want my outcome to be in this? And then I back up to right here and right now, and I put together a process to lead toward the outcome that I want. So that was beautiful.
Absolutely. That backwards planning model, like I learned that back in middle school, reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You're like, oh, I could do that. Just because it's simple doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, but it is worth it. That's how life is often. We will have moments where we're like, wow, I'm exactly where I need to be, exactly at the right time. I had an experience last night just like that. My mom, she passed away last June. And just to kind of commemorate her and the love that we have for her, my whole family, we said, hey, let's go be around the temple tomorrow or yesterday. And I said, cool, we're going to do that. So 7:00 last night, I went with my little family, did a little bit of spiritual grounding because 2 of my kids didn't bring shoes with them, which was awesome. I was like, we're walking on holy ground, so having bare feet is probably fine. And the temple was closed, so we're just walking around the outside anyway on the grass. I was walking with them and just feeling the grass. It was a nice, beautiful, breezy evening. And there was this young man dressed in a really nice suit, and he had a red and blue flag with a white star on it. I was like, oh, he's going to Taiwan. And I went and talked to him. I said, hey, where are you going and serving your mission? And he said, oh, I'm going to go to the Kaohsiung mission. I said, that's where I served. I served in Taichung and in Kaohsiung. And I was exactly where I was supposed to be at that exact moment. And God put me in alignment with him because I was able to serve in a way that literally nobody else in my entire city probably could serve that young man. He's going to the exact place. He was feeling a little frustrated about his lack of knowledge in the language. And I was there too. Not every single day do we know what God has for us, but if we are intentional with our plans and we say, hey, Heavenly Father, this is what I want to do today. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be obedient to those opportunities. God will align opportunity with us. And if we're ready and we take action, we open our mouth, amazing things happen. That was not a coincidence. That I don't believe in coincidence. Coincidence is just God staying anonymous. And for me, I was like, I know God put me in that place at that exact moment because I was able to help that young man be able to see, you know what? Learning a language isn't scary. It's one word at a time, just like it's one rep at a time to build your muscles. It's one choice. What do I put in my mouth? All of those choices come into fruition when we are willing to do God's will over our own. So Ron, what ideas come to mind from that story? I know there's lots of things that I'm sure you got churning, but how has God been able to do more for you than maybe you thought you could do on your own?
One, divine appointments. I call them you say there are no coincidences. I call those divine appointments. God
I like
made
that.
an appointment and you showed up for it, and somebody is blessed. Every time God has a divine appointment, somebody's blessed in that transaction. But yeah, that brings lots of things to mind um, when it comes to divine appointments. One thing is, I wanted to just mention this real quick, and that's success.
Mhm.
A lot of people, me and my wife, we prayed a prayer, and my prayer was, God, don't let me be successful until I'm successful. And I prayed that for years, and my wife, we would hold hands and we would pray that. And then she would snatch her hands away from me and said, quit praying that. Because at the time, we weren't financially where we wanted to be. We were praying for some things to happen, and we weren't financially where we wanted to be. But I know God sees better than we do our future. And there are a lot of ministers, there are a lot of people that claim faith that when they become financially successful, they blow it and the whole world knows about it. But when you're unknown, you can fail over and over and over again. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows, of who you are. So if you're going to fail, fail early, fail fast, and fail forward. So that's what I did. I failed often and I failed forward and I did it as quickly as I could. But I wanted God to purify my life so that when he made me successful, I wouldn't shame him.
Mm.
I didn't want to shame him. I didn't want to make him look bad, saying that I'm a godly person and saying that God is with me. I didn't want people to look at me and say, is that what God is like? I mean, is that what God wants you to do? And we see that happen all the time. So my prayer meant, don't allow me to be successful financially until, and don't allow my gifting to surpass my character. But I want my character to be in a place where I don't fail you. So don't let me be successful until I'm successful. So, but I personally believe that true success is finding out why you were born and then fulfilling it.
Beautiful.
Now, if I am successful at doing something I was never intended to do, I don't consider that true success because the adversary will try to get you moving in a direction to make a whole lot of money, but not a whole lot of impact.
Mm.
I want to make impact and I want to help people to change their lives through a process that God has given. That's success for me. Now, making a whole lot of money is secondary to me. Money, I'm goal oriented. So all the people that I coach, I have to be really, really careful because I would coach them for free if money wasn't an object. All of the people that I coach, I would coach for free because I'm looking at the results. I'm very
Mm.
results oriented. So, so yeah, that's what I think about success. And that's what I think about putting it all together and
Mm.
doing it in a way that's purposeful and that changes people's lives.
That's phenomenal. You know, in my book that's coming out soon, I talk about this idea of character development. There's 3 different ways that we do that. It's on stage, off stage, and in all the new stages of our life. Anytime we are in alignment with who we are, we're living on purpose, in our purpose, we have almost an extra amount of blessings because we're doing what God intended us to do. Like you said, hey, success to you is you discover what it was that God intended you to do, and then you do it. I think that's a beautiful definition. One of my favorites is success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal by Earl Nightingale. If we can progressively focus on what are those things that will level up our life, that will help us live into our full character, that gives other people permission to develop their character as well. On stage, who you show up as is not nearly going to be as important as who you are off stage.
Mm.
How do you interact with other people? Are you kind? Are you clear? Are you someone that people enjoy being around because you're living in integrity? That's something I am always looking to figure out. Where am I out of integrity? How do I make sure I get in alignment? Because none of us are always perfectly in alignment. It's always like a chiropractor appointment. You need to figure out, oh, where did I get out of alignment? Got to go make those little adjustments until we figure out, how do I make sure that this is success for me? So,
Brigham, one thing with that is
yeah.
what you said is really, really, really important
Mm.
that everybody should know. It's not what you do on stage that matters most, it's what you do off stage. Because oftentimes, that person that comes up to you and says, hey, I just wanted to ask you a question. Oh, maybe later. And you walk off and you're too busy or too important.
Mm.
You never know who that person is. And what I found many times is that one person, because I genuinely love people. I just love people. And I want to talk to people. There's some churches that I go to that they'll usher me in, won't let me talk to the people, usher me to the stage. Somebody's carrying my Bible, they're carrying a drink for me, and then after I minister, they want to usher me off stage into a green room. I'm like, I'm here for the people. I
Here
want to
for
be
the
with the
people.
people. But what I found is that those people that you spend time with off stage,
Mm.
what happens is what I found is they know somebody who knows somebody who might be your next stage.
Mm.
And if you treat them well and you love them, those people are the ones that go to bat for you to say, you know what, you got to have this guy. This guy, I've never seen anybody like him. Oh, I just love him. And when they meet you, they say, well, I thought you were going to float in here without touching the ground the way this person talked about you, because you gave them some time. And one
Mm.
thing I've heard about myself is that when I'm talking to somebody, they're the only person in the world.
Mm.
And their circumstance is the most important
Yeah.
situation in the world for that moment. And I give them my undivided attention because I care and
Yeah.
because that's part of my character that builds everything else around me.
Beautiful. That is so key. Guys, I hope you're listening tightly to that, because who you are off stage, if it is not in alignment with who you are on stage, there is a disconnect. But if you're just the same person doing your very best in all elements of your life, people will definitely see it. They'll feel it. They'll know how much you care. One of my standard operating procedures, I got this from my friend Greg Kimball. He says, actively put the word wow in people's mouth and out care the competition. I want people to come away from an interview with me or a connection with me and say, wow, he really cares. He loves uncommonly. He reminds me of Christ. If people can see Christ in my actions, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. It's almost like when you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, you think about how am I not just perceived, but how am I carrying that name badge of Christ? If my actions are no longer pointing people to Christ and say, oh, you know what? I don't think Christ would do that. That means I'm out of alignment. I need to get back in alignment. And
That's right.
that's a huge character thing for me. Like I go through my mantras every single day. I go through these affirmations. And one of the biggest ones is I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. How I show up, it gives people permission to see Christ and to see through my actions what he does for us and how I can point people to him. I'm not the power. I love connecting into that source of power, which in my vernacular is Christ for sure. I know it is in yours too.
Absolutely.
Every single one of us, it comes down to how do we reflect our values in our choices. You know, as an actor, I remember early on in character development, it is not just what you say, it is the choices that are made. If you're going to be an amazing actor, you're going to be an amazing stage performer, there are artistic choices that you have and liberties within how you pronounce a line, what things you emphasize, where you pause. And that will either be well received or poorly received depending on the entire process. But it's all in your choices. We have that gift of agency. And that's the thing I'm so grateful for. Christ gave us that agency. He gave us the opportunity to choose. And we can choose to be successful. We can choose to level up our life. We can choose to interface with amazing people like you, Ron. I absolutely love being in the same room with you because you make me want to be a better person. And I see what's possible because you're an amazing speaker. You're a man of faith. And I'm like, I want to be just like you. So that's why I'm excited to have you on the podcast and to share your insights because you have such amazing stories.
Wow. Brigham, you know something about, you touched on this about purpose.
Yeah, go ahead.
And everybody has one. And purpose is not something that you go out and develop. I'm going to develop my purpose. Purpose is not developed by the individual. Purpose is discovered because you're born with it. You're born with a purpose. Everybody has one. So we have to discover what that purpose is. And purpose is found as a creator, because I have several patents. When I create something, I know the purpose of that thing. And if I was created, the way you find the purpose of a thing is get into the mind of the creator of that thing. So if I was created and I want to know my purpose, I get into the mind of who created me. And the Bible says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadows of the Almighty. So in that secret place, secrets are shared. And if you get in the secret place with God, he's going to share secrets. And secrets are things that exist, but they're just covered up. And what God does is he uncovers the secret of who you are. And that's your purpose. So if you get in his presence long enough, you will find out what your purpose is. And when you find your purpose, beeline. And because I feel like I've taken way too much time and I've got to make a 3 days journey in one. I see the end of the road and I want to reach it. Paul said this, I have finished my course. My purpose has been completed. I finished it. Jesus said, it is finished. He finished it. When Ron Williams dies, I want to say, it is finished.
That's so good. That is so good. In Mandarin, the word finished is also the word for perfect or perfection. In Greek, teleos is that idea of completion as well. If you think about complete, that doesn't mean there were not imperfections. That's something that in English, we sometimes think, oh, if it's finished, it's perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. God didn't intend us to be perfect. We were intended to follow someone that was, and to be as close to him as possible, to polish that. You think about, like, I have this guy in my Toastmasters club. He is a rock hound. He does all this stuff with, polishing rocks. When you first find a great agate or you find a beautiful stone, it does not look pretty. It might look okay. You're like, oh, wow, I know there's potential in that. But you have to put the sand grits in there and take time and energy rubbing down on taking off all those rough edges to reveal that inner beauty. And you have to polish it. You have to put the compounds in, and you have to do the work to make sure that the beauty and that luminescence comes out, and you can see the inner beauty. It's not that the inner beauty wasn't there. Every single one of us have that inner beauty. Literally, like you talk about how all of us have that most fit version of ourselves inside of us. And your job is just kind of like, okay, this is how we can take that part away. This is how we can take that apart. It's a matter of subtraction and then addition. How do we make it beautiful? How do we take this raw data and make it into something that's beautiful? So what's your thoughts on that? I know you've got a lot that are coming to mind. It's like, oh, you're simple. Like, this is good.
When you say that, I remember seeing a movie years ago where this guy was he was carving wood.
Mm-hmm.
And after he carved the wood, you could see all of the details. And I thought, I'd do something similar to that. But with what he was doing, he had to do it exactly perfect, because if you messed up, you had to start all over. But he would carve the wood, and he would make the eyes, he would make the nose, the mouth, and the body. And he had to see it first before he carved it. And what I do with physical bodies, I look at the physical body, and even though it's inside of this fat suit, or it's inside of a body that's really thin and skinny, and we need to build the muscle around it, I can look at the muscle bellies. I can look at the length of the muscle. I can look at the muscle fiber, and I can tell what that body has the potential to become. And so it was similar to that we carve it out to make it, to help it reach its potential. And that's what it's all about, reaching our potential, our full potential in every area of our lives.
That's so good. And body sculpting, it's not just the physical elements, it's your mental fortitude. It's all those different things. Because I remember you talking about this idea of putting the mind in the muscle. That's something I'd never heard anyone else talk about, but you have such a great ability to take your mindset, your pain, all these different things, and fuel those purposes behind the movements. Would you mind just giving an overview of why mind in the muscle actually matters? Because this is something you guys want to definitely check out in his books and in his stuff in Renata's. Like, it's beautiful. And we don't have time to go into all of it, but yeah, tell us that principle, that mind in the muscle principle.
One thing, when people say put the mind in the muscle, you hear other people say it. They say it, and when they actually perform that exercise, it's not necessarily the muscle that you're working that you put your mind into. If you're working your say your glutes, you're not focusing on the glute itself. You're focusing on the tie-ins. Say, I'll do one that you can actually see. Your chest. Your chest is made in an arc. So with the chest, as I'm pushing the weight, I'm not thinking about my chest. I'm thinking about what causes that chest to contract. So I want you to do me a favor. Take your left hand and put it on the right side, and then push right in there where the chest and shoulder connects. Okay, now just take your arm and do like this. Forward, backwards and forward. Not much activation. Okay, now put your arm to the side. Now squeeze your arm tight and push it to the center. Squeeze it and push it to the center. You feel your chest activate. When you did this, it was just your arm moving. This is a bench press. So if I want to really activate the chest, put your hand in the center where the chest meets and do this again. Squeeze all the way forward. You feel the chest contract again. The chest is made in an arc. So in order to really focus, put the mind in the muscle, you put your mind in what engages that muscle, and then force that contraction all the way through. That'll develop the muscle. If you just push the weights, you're going to get some development. You want to maximize it, reach your potential, do what I just said.
That's so good. Can we even go a little farther with that? Because I think this can also be an analogy as a speaker. What are the things that you focus on as a speaker to put the mind in the muscle, or the mind in the muscle of your speaking career, of your leadership? What is that
Well,
connection for you?
the connection is, and it's really important to be able to connect to the audience. Know your audience. Number one, know your audience, and know. See, with each audience, they're a little different because you have different thought processes, different mentalities. You have people that come in and they're stubborn. You have people that come in like, you're not going to tell me anything. Their arms are folded. They're
Yeah.
telling you I'm not listening. But when you speak, you should see their arms drop
Mm,
because you've drawn them in. And so you're attaching to them in different ways, in different stories that you're telling, because facts sell. I mean, facts tell, but stories sell. So
mm,
you can tell the facts. And some people are very intellectual. They just want the facts. But then most people, the majority of the people, they want the ability to tie into who you are.
mm.
Like they come in and they're thinking, okay, who is this guy? What is he going to teach me? What is he going to tell me? And you come in, you like, non-competitive, non-combative, and just very down to earth. I'm really nothing, guys. You see these accolades that I have? These are things that talk about me. They're I only have a short period of listen, Brigham, you got to hear this, man. I only have a short period of time with you to connect with you. My goal is to make a difference in your life. I'm not here to combat. I'm not here to try to teach you how smart I am. I want to make a difference in your life. So there's two things that will help me to get you to trust me. Number one is it takes time, and we don't have that. The other thing is accolades. Okay, I'm Mr. Universe. Okay, I'm a patent owner. I've been a professor in exercise physiology. That says I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'm a professor in nutrition. I've done all of these things. I'll be a doctor. I get my doctorate degree in June. So I'm a doctor now.
Congratulations.
So I have all these accolades. So either I have time or my accolades because people have gotten on stage and they have spoken and they have said things that were powerful, but then they get off stage and they lead a different life. So people are looking for somebody they can trust and believe in.
Mm.
So I have two things that I can give you. There are two ways that you can learn to trust me, and one is time, and I don't have that. So let me tell you a little bit about the accolades that I have. That's the only thing they're for. But really, I want to connect with you. I want my heart to connect with your heart. I want you to feel what
Mm.
I feel. And I'm going to tell you some stories to help you do that. And then I'm going to give you some information that it's going to change your life.
Boom. That's so good. Guys, that was awesome. Facts tell, stories sell. Long and short, that's exactly why I do what I do. I love taking information and putting it in a story package so that people can see why it matters. You think about this story framework. Ron, this is something I think you might actually really enjoy. My story framework that's in my book, you start with the S, because STORY. This is significant. You hit those significant moments. You cut out the things that don't matter. You make it absolutely essential for you and your audience. You translate it so that it makes sense to them. It's relevant. It makes them feel, oh, I need this. I really want this. That makes sense why it matters. And then you give them an objective. You say, this is the point of the story. This is why I'm sharing. This is the thing that's going to help you in X, Y, or Z way. What this means to you is you're going to be able to be a better speaker. You're going to be able to be not boring on stage. However, those benefits fit into your audience. And then you relive it, just like what you're talking about. You have to perform that story. You don't just relate the story, you relive it. And then the yes is this idea of, I'm going to give a clear, concise call to action. Have someone say, you know what? I'm not only going to just hear this, I'm going to go do something with it. That's the value of storytelling. In a nutshell, that's what you said. And I think that's one of these frameworks that I discovered over this last year of doing podcasts that has just been so helpful. So thank you for being an example of being an amazing storyteller, a wonderful example. Sharing accolades, that's the fastest way to let people know, oh, I can trust this person. They've got the credibility. And building time, yeah, sometimes we don't have the time for it, but we do have the opportunity to share something of value. Because just because you don't have enough time doesn't mean you can't give them something of value. Anytime we have a moment, we don't get those heartbeats back. So sharing these heartbeats with me, I don't take it lightly, Ron. I really appreciate all that you do. And man, you're soon to be a doctor. That's so cool. I didn't know that about you. That's amazing. And
June the 7th, man. June the
June
7th,
7th.
I become. Now, I'm the kid that couldn't read. I was illiterate until I was 28 years old. After that, I started writing books, became a college professor. And man, God really has a sense of humor. And Brigham, I'm going to tell you something. Those 28 years, I was in survival mode. I didn't know I had creativity in me. Creativity and survival are the opposite. So the creativity, I mean, the survival is what was in the forefront, and I was just surviving. But when I stopped just surviving, I found out I had creativity and started developing and creating things.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Be the creative genius, and we can all step into that if we get used to connecting with the creator. And I think that's something that you are an excellent example of. And thank you so much for sharing such wonderful insights. Where can people go find you online and get to know more of what you're doing in your ministries and what you're doing as, an amazing coach and all the things you're doing in business?
Well, one, Google Ron Williams, natural bodybuilder, real easy. And then www.yourchampionlife.com.
Perfect. Guys, go check it out. I just got his book. I'm super excited to read it too. So thank you so much for not just being an example, but taking the effort to codify it so that other people can follow that same process and get similar results. That's an act of God and an act of hard as well, because it's not easy to write a book. I'm right in the process of it right now. And it is sometimes really challenging to be like, how do I make this make sense to someone other than myself? Now, how do I make it meaningful? How do I make this something that people don't just need to know, but that it will drastically change their life if they implement it? It's wonderful. So thank you so much for all you do, and a great speaker. Guys, if you ever get a chance to listen to Ron in person again, absolutely go do it. He's phenomenal. So once again, thank you
Thanks,
so
man.
much, Ron.
Appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate you too.
Okay. God bless you, sir.
Hey, God bless, guys. You have a great rest of your day. I'm going to hit this. Have an opportunity to pick up the book, Value Driven Storytelling. That's coming out very, very soon. And I've got so many opportunities to help more people get out of their own way with stage fright. Remember, 3 reasons stage fright costs and why you must fix it. That is my free download. So if you are like, hey, I really want that, right here, thefinalpercent.com/Brigham Blackham. Say, hey, I want the ebook. I will send it to you. Would love to connect. Appreciate you guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, Ron, looks like you got
one last thing. I'm going to put together a newsletter specifically for this podcast.
Boom. Okay. Definitely check that out in the description. He'll send me that. We'll get that in the link so you guys can have literally the information that you need to go to that next level. Because that's what we're all about, is getting closer to God, closer to our purpose, and revealing those things that will get us in alignment. So thank you so much, Ron. So grateful to have you on today. And God bless, guys. See you next week.